Okay, so here we go. We're going to check your work on that one. And this particular video is going to have a lot of practice on asking questions that we've learned so far. And then in the next video, we'll learn how to do what questions. So let's wrap up who and all the other ones, and then we'll move on in the next video. So you can see workbook page 113 here, and then we're going to go to textbook page 122 to 123. So let me get rid of this, and we'll go to our answers here for 113. Hopefully you got something that looks like this. Sorry, my picture covers up some of the answers here, but you can see the pattern that I talked about in the other video continues here. You have qui est-ce que tu, qui est-ce que tu, qui est-ce que tu, qui est-ce que tu, qui est-ce que tu. Sound like a broken record, don't I? Over and over and over again. Because basically what you're saying is, with who is it that you play? To who is it that you call? To who is it that you speak? With who is it that you study? For who is it that you work? With who is it that you speak English? Of who are you talking about? Or who are you talking about, as we'd say. Of who is it that you're talking, as it is in French and in Old English. Okay? That's all there is to it. So, qui est-ce que tu, qui est-ce que tu, qui est-ce que tu, and then your action is going to be telephone, parle, and don't forget these are going to change to an S on these. Okay, why? Because of the tu in your answer is not the je, right? So in your verb chart from a while ago, remember the je has the E ending for ER verbs, je telephone, right? Well, tu telephone has an ES at the end because it's matched up with tu now instead of je. So make sure you've made that, didn't make a mistake and rewrite parle the same way all the way, or telephone or whatever without the ES, okay? But that's how this all works. Let's practice a little something out loud here. We're going to be terrible gossips now. I'm going to get rid of this, and we're going to go to textbook page 122 as I promised, and we're going to do exercise 5 here at the top. I'm going to be the gossip, and you're going to be asking questions about that. So I'm going to say, in the example here, Jean-Pierre téléphone, or in other words, Jean-Pierre called, and you're going to go, oh really? Ah bon? Remember from the other day, ah bon is oh really? Then you ask the question, you can see here, avec qui est-ce que, and then whoever it was, what did they do? So Alice says Alice dined, and you're going, with who did she dine? Avec qui est-ce que, again right after your question, and then elle dîne, because that's what came from the statement. And I'll say elle dîne avec une copine, which comes from the parentheses. Excuse me, from the parentheses. I just ate lunch, sorry. So number 1, I say Jean-Pierre téléphone. And it's probably easier to look at your book, by the way, but Jean-Pierre téléphone. All right. Now, in a moment, you pause it and you figure out to who did he call. Go. Pause. And hopefully you said à qui est-ce que il, or à qui est-ce que Jean-Pierre téléphone, because il and Jean-Pierre are the same thing. Okay, so à qui est-ce qu'il téléphone? And I say il téléphone à Sylvie. He called Sylvia. Okay, next one, number 2. Frederick étudie. Now you go and pause it. And hopefully you said ah bon. Avec qui est-ce qu'il, or est-ce que Frédéric étudie? With who did he study? And I'll say, il étudie avec, I can't see the picture up there, I have to look at my book, avec un copain. He studied with a friend. Okay? Number 3, I'll do this one with you again, but the 4, 5, and 6 you have to totally figure it out on your own. Okay? So number 3 is Madame, I can't read the book here, sorry, Madame Lambert travaille. You go. Oops, I was wrong. It would be Madame Masson parle. Okay, so Madame Masson parle. Hopefully you realize my error and you got it right and said, à qui est-ce que elle parle? To who did she speak? And I say, elle parle à Madame Bonneau. She's talking to Madame Bonneau. Okay, now I'm going to do the first and third bubble. I'm not going to give you the answer for the next bubble, okay? So, Monsieur Lambert travaille. Your turn. Avec qui est-ce... Oh, that's your part. Sorry. Avec Monsieur Dumont. With Mr. Dumont he worked. Number 5. Juliette danse. Elle danse avec George. She danced with George. Mais François parle à Michel. And you'd say, de qui est-ce que François parle? Who did he talk about? And I'd say, il parle de toi. He talked about you. Ooh, scary. All right. So that, again, it's the qui est-ce que over and over again. You just had to go avec qui, or de qui, or à qui, just as we talked about in the last few chapters. So hopefully this is all making some sense to you. We're going to do one more thing here. Oops, that's not what you want to see. You want to see this, exercise 7, and then this is putting it all together. Everything we've done so far, you're going to ask the question. I'm going to answer it once again. But in the example here, you see where, and you got to I'll come up with where is it that you, picture item, dine. And I'm going to say, I dine at home. Okay? So for number 1 here, which is kind of set off to the side here, you're going to say, at what time is it that you watch TV? That's what you say. Okay? So say that, and I'll give my answer. Pause it. And hopefully you said, à quelle heure est-ce que tu regardes la télé? And I say, je regarde la télé à 8 heures. Number 2, you ask that question. Go. And hopefully you said, quand est-ce que tu voyages en France? Or parle français, you might have said too. And I'm going to say, je parle français, or je voyage en France en septembre. When? Okay. Number 3, now you're going to say, how do you speak French? By asking. And hopefully you said, comment est-ce que tu parles français? Comment est-ce que tu? Again, just following that pattern. And I say, je parle français très bien. All right, the next I'm not going to give your answer. See if you figured it out. You're going to ask, with who do you play tennis? By saying, and I say, je joue avec Denise. Now you're going to say, to who are you calling? And you say that by going, and I say, je parle à mon cousin, or je téléphone à mon cousin. I'm calling my cousin. And the next one you're going to ask, who is it you're talking about, or who you're gossiping about, that kind of thing. So to who is it you're speaking? So you use parler. Go ahead. And since that one's a little trickier, hopefully you went, de qui est-ce que tu parles? De qui, of who, est-ce que tu parles, is it that you speak? And I say, je parle de toi, talking about you. Again with the talking about you. And then number 7, you're going to say, for who do you work? By saying, and hopefully you said, pour qui est-ce que tu travailles? And I say, je travaille pour Monsieur Lambert. Okay, so that puts all the questions together. In the next video, we're going to learn how to ask what questions, and probably also like, what are you doing? How do you do this? How do you do that? And the word for doing or making. Okay, so let's have you end this one, and we're going to go to 123. So Godfrey French 123 is your next video, and that'll probably be pretty short because I think there's a workbook page you're supposed to be doing, but I've forgotten right now. So rather than make you wait, you know what I can do? I can pause this. Hang on. Yeah, I didn't know that I could pause this and just restart at the end. So now you can do workbook page 114, just the top. Okay? So you're going to do what we just basically did here in this pictured activity, except you're going to write out the answers now. It says on 114, Madam Martin works. You're going to say, where is it that she works? And it says, Natalie calls. You're going to say, to who is it that she calls? Okay? So you write out the questions for just the top of 114, and that's where we'll check the next one. So actually, forget what I said before. We're going to go to the next video, which is workbook 114. Okay? So when you finish the workbook page, we'll check it by watching the video, workbook page 114. Okay, Godfrey French, workbook 114. That's where we're going to next. Sorry to mess things up there, but now you know. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope this is working for you.